It was one of the worst jobs in medieval Europe, yet thousands of people did it anyway. They climbed into sewers, emptied cesspits with buckets, crawled through human waste, and hoped the poisonous air wouldn't kill them first. Sometimes it did. Other times, the walls collapsed, burying them alive beneath tons of filth. And strangely enough, that wasn't even close to the most bizarre way people died during the Middle Ages. The Dancing Plague. It was July 1518 in Strasbourg, part of the Holy Roman Empire. A woman named Frau Trophia walked into the street and began dancing. There was no music. She did not stop. People watched for hours, expecting her to become tired. She didn't. The next day, she was still dancing. Then another person joined her. Then another. Within a week, dozens of people were dancing through the streets without rest. By the end of the month, nearly 400 people had joined. Some danced until their feet bled. Others collapsed from exhaustion only to stand back up and continue. Doctors examined them, but found no obvious illness. Instead of stopping the dancers, city officials believed the only cure was to let them dance until the madness left their bodies. They built wooden stages. Musicians were hired. Professional dancers were brought in to keep everyone moving. The plan made everything worse. People danced through unbearable pain. Some suffered heart attacks. Others collapsed from strokes or complete exhaustion. Several died in the streets while still moving. Nobody knows exactly why it happened. Some historians blame mass psychological hysteria. Others suggest starvation and extreme stress pushed entire communities beyond their breaking point. Whatever caused it, hundreds danced for weeks, and many never stopped until they were dead. The King's Chamber Pot. In 1184, King Henry II of England ruled one of the largest kingdoms in Europe. Royal life looked luxurious from the outside. Inside castles, sanitation barely existed. Human waste collected beneath wooden toilets that emptied into deep pits. Cleaning them was the job of gong farmers. One worker entered a royal cesspit beneath a castle to remove years of accumulated waste. The air inside contained methane, ammonia, and hydrogen sulfide. He carried only a small lantern. Within minutes, he stopped moving. The poisonous gases had replaced the oxygen around him. Another worker climbed down to rescue him. He collapsed too. A third followed. He never came back. By the time help arrived, several men were dead inside the pit. Ironically, they had drowned without a drop of water. Instead, they suffocated inside centuries of human waste. Across medieval Europe, this happened often enough that experienced gong farmers tied ropes around themselves before entering. Sometimes, even that wasn't enough. The Green Children. Around the 12th century, two strange children appeared near the English village of Woolpit. Their skin was completely green. They spoke an unknown language. They refused bread, meat, and milk. For days they would eat nothing. Eventually someone offered fresh beans. The children devoured them. The boy became sick and died soon afterward. The girl survived. Over time her skin slowly returned to a normal color. She learned English. When villagers asked where she had come from, she described a land where the sun never shone brightly and everyone had green skin. Nobody believed her. To this day, historians still debate whether the children suffered from severe malnutrition, poisoning, or a rare disease. The boy's strange arrival ended almost as mysteriously as it began. The Killer Feast. Medieval banquets were displays of wealth. Kings and nobles competed to serve the largest meals imaginable. In 1251, Count Floris IV attended a lavish feast. The tables overflowed with roasted animals, pies, and wine. One dish contained wild mushrooms collected from nearby forests. Nobody realized some of them were deadly. The symptoms appeared slowly. Guests complained of stomach pain, then vomiting, then violent cramps. Some collapsed before reaching their beds. Others suffered for days. Several nobles died from organ failure. The cooks had no idea which mushrooms were safe. One wrong harvest had poisoned an entire banquet. In medieval Europe, a meal prepared to celebrate life could quietly become a mass execution. The bees that won. During a siege in the Middle Ages, attacking soldiers expected boiling oil, arrows, and stones. Instead, they heard buzzing. Defenders rolled enormous beehives over the castle walls. The hives exploded on impact. Thousands of angry bees filled the air. Soldiers threw down shields and weapons while desperately trying to escape the swarm. Some ran straight into enemy arrows. Others fell into moats. Men allergic to bee venom died within minutes. Entire assaults collapsed because nobody could fight while covered in stinging insects. Sometimes the deadliest medieval weapon wasn't made of steel. It had wings. The laughing death. In several medieval chronicles, people were described as laughing until they died. One famous story tells of a man who began laughing during a public celebration. He couldn't stop. Minutes became hours. His breathing became impossible. Eventually, he collapsed and died in front of the crowd. Modern doctors suspect heart failure, neurological disorders, or oxygen deprivation. Medieval witnesses believed demons had possessed him. To everyone watching, it looked like laughter itself had become fatal. Buried alive. The greatest fear of many medieval Europeans wasn't dying. It was being buried before they were actually dead. Medicine was primitive. Doctors often checked only for breathing. Weak pulses went unnoticed. During outbreaks of plague, burials happened quickly. There are records describing scratched coffin lids, bent fingernails, broken fingers. Some graves contained skeletons facing downward instead of lying peacefully. Others showed signs the bodies had moved after burial. Nobody knows how many people were buried alive. Even the possibility terrified entire generations. Death by armor. Armor saved countless lives. Sometimes it guaranteed death. A fully armored knight could weigh over 60 pounds before weapons. During battles fought near rivers or marshes, one wrong step was enough. Once a knight fell into deep mud or water, standing back up became almost impossible. The armor trapped them. Water rushed inside helmets. Some drowned only a few feet from shore. Others slowly disappeared beneath mud while their companions watched helplessly. The strongest warrior on the battlefield could become completely powerless simply because he lost his footing. The funeral that killed the mourners. Large funerals brought together entire villages. During one medieval burial, heavy rain soaked the hillside cemetery. As mourners gathered around the open grave, the wet ground suddenly collapsed. The coffin fell. So did dozens of people. Some were crushed beneath soil. Others suffocated before rescuers could dig them out. The funeral created more victims than the death it was meant to honor. The rat catcher's end. Rats spread disease throughout medieval cities. Professional rat catchers hunted them for a living. One experienced catcher cornered dozens inside a warehouse. As he reached into a pile of sacks, hundreds of frightened rats rushed toward the only escape. Straight over him. He was bitten repeatedly. Deep wounds quickly became infected. Without antibiotics, small infections often turned deadly. He survived the attack. He did not survive the disease that followed. Sometimes the animals you killed every day eventually killed you instead. The Middle Ages were filled with wars, famine, and plague. Yet some of history's strangest deaths came from dancing, laughter, poisonous air, bees, collapsing graves, or simple accidents nobody could have imagined. Many sound like legends. Some probably became legends over time, but they reveal something deeper about medieval life. People faced dangers that modern society barely thinks about anymore. And often, survival depended less on bravery than on pure luck. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment with another bizarre chapter of history you'd like to explore next.